Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my page 112 tag for January 2023, my first page 112 tag of the new year. I love playing this TBR game, which Sean the Book Maniac brought to BookTube several years ago now, I guess. And it is based off of a French literary prize wherein they comprised the long list for said prize, I think mostly of novels, solely by reading page 112 of the books in contention, so that usually falls within the middle of the novel, and it's supposed to be after all of the hyper-polished pages, you know, that are supposed to wow editors and all of that. So anyway, the point is to judge solely based on the quality of the writing because you have no context for the rest of the story. And anyway, I have used slips of paper in this handy-dandy Books and Cats mug, which I have recently just refilled up. I have my 2022 acquisitions, which I added in. All of these slips of paper coincide with physical books on my TBR shelves that I don't otherwise have plans to read this year. So I'm going to go ahead and choose 3 slips of paper at random with you, and then read the page 112s with you and decide, hopefully by the quality of the writing, which one I will be adding to my month's TBR. And so anyway, now that, you know, this mug is all filled up with new stuff and replenished, I think half, roughly, of the titles in here are new 2022 acquisitions, which I've never played with before, they've never been in this mug before, and then the other half are from 2021 or before, and I think I've played with the majority of those before, but not all of them, so a little under half are books I have played with before, and then a little over half are brand new to the game, and I'll have to, you know, read those pages right here on camera with you, and I have no idea what's in them, and so it's all so exciting, the spontaneity. Anyway, I'm going to stop geeking out over silliness now and get to the point. So I'm going to start with book number 1. Hopefully I did a good job of, you know, spreading all of these out so that they're not all the same books in the same area, or I'll try to go to different areas of this mug to get 3 titles which are hopefully different from one another, but ooh, and they're sticking together a little bit. There we go, 1. Ooh, Ask Again Yes by Mary Beth Keane. This is a 2022 acquisition. I believe I got this in May at the Gaithersburg Book Festival at my Friends of the Library book sale that happens at that festival. And this is a literary fiction novel that was popular a few years ago, so I added it to my TBR and then I found it. So now I have it. And all right, book number 2. I don't know what to hope for. Just something. Okay. All right, this one is No Diving Allowed, Stories by Louise Marburg. So this is kind of similar, kind of the same, because these are short stories. So that's very different from a novel. So I think it's going to be a little tricky, perhaps, for page 112, because who knows where that will come within the short story. But this is also a 2022 acquisition, and I also got it at the Gaithersburg Book Festival, although not from the used library bookstore this time. I got this one signed by the author, so it's all the more hyped. And finally, book number 3. I'm kind of hoping for, you know, an older one now for a little diversity, or at least something I didn't get at the Gaithersburg Book Festival. That would just be nice as well by this point. So let's see if I dig in deep and find something. Maybe that will do it, or, you know, see, they stick together. But I'm going to dig in deep and, well, here's one. And those were still 2 together, so here I go again, digging in deep. Dig, dig, dig. Yep, and, oh, here, okay. 1 dig deep. Okay, there we go. Beyond the Pale by Ilana Dykewoman, which is another 2022 release, but I definitely got it later in the year. I got this in November when I went to a new bookstore in DC, Little District Books, which focuses on LGBTQ books, and I know this book is about a Jewish LGBTQ community. So There we go. Okay, you've seen me grab all three of these books, and now I'm going to go ahead and read them to myself to gather my thoughts, and then come back to you and read them aloud with you. So stay tuned. Okay, I'm back here and ready to read and discuss my 3-page 112s. Starting with book number 1, Ask Again Yes by Mary Beth Keane. In fact, page 112 starts in the middle of a sentence, so I'm just going to go ahead and read the beginning on page 111. Nurses and people on the administrative staff passed back and forth through the family meeting room, which was arranged with fake intimacy. A set of love seats and armchairs, like they might pretend they were sitting in their own living room at home. Anne hugged herself and squinted up at a corner of the ceiling, like she'd spotted a cobweb there. "Have you talked to that girl?" she asked after a while. "What girl?" Peter asked, though he knew, and then, "No." "And her father? Good as new?" "I don't know, Mom. I know he's at home because I heard Dad and George talking about it once. I don't think he works anymore. I don't know." His mother was quiet for a long time. "I knew girls like that. My sister was one. It's witchcraft or something, the way they operate. But you're strong, Peter, and you're smart. Use your head. Picture her. She's average in every way. You see that now, don't you? A plain Jane, a nothing." Peter told himself it was not cowardice that kept him from sticking up for Kate. What would be the point? Just then he remembered the way Kate used to fix her eyes on him when she knew something was troubling him. He thought of the way she'd tuck and retuck her hair behind her ears when she was excited about something. She probably hated him now. "I didn't know you had a sister." "Are you paying attention? Say it. Say, 'I'm strong.' Say, 'I'm smart.' Where's your sister now? What's her name?" He knew his mother had come from Ireland, that she'd had a family there, but she'd never, ever spoken of it. "Are you listening to me?" she asked sharply. One of the nurses glanced up, began walking over. "I'm strong. I'm smart," he whispered. She seemed satisfied. She sent him over to the refreshment corner to get a cup of water and a stale cookie with a gummy piece of candied cherry in the middle. Okay, so I feel like this is interesting because it is sort of the page 112 tech personified in a way, because we're in the middle of a bunch of context we don't really understand about these people. Like, why are they in a hospital? And who are all these people that they're talking about? But it does become very clear through just dialogue in this information that this is a mother and a son, and the mother, I would say, has a bit of a paranoid personality about a young woman her son is somehow involved with, whose name is Kate, I would assume, because he feels bad for not, sticking up for a woman named Kate, or a girl named Kate. And so, yeah, I thought that was well done. I liked a little bit of the the details, like the stale cookie and, the waiting room that's fake, family room sort of feel. And even just this woman, I mean, to have a line of dialogue in here that's, "I didn't know you had a sister, Mom." It says something pretty significant about this woman and her relationship to her past. So I don't know how much of it will come out if she's like, it seems like Peter, at least in this, is, the POV character, but it's intriguing to think he comes and has this conflict with this mother figure who obviously has skeletons and has like a very strong agenda about who she is, and if that means, denying part of her past, so be it, or, or this sense of, to me it seems like just huge bias that she's putting onto this woman, I guess, like, if I don't like her, obviously she's doing witchcraft to make my son like her, that sort of thing. So anyway, I'm intrigued. Book number 2 is No Diving Allowed, Stories by Louise Marburg, which I got from the Politics and Prose bookstore that was at the Gaithersburg Book Festival, so I'll just hold up the bookmark. And in fact, page 112 is the second page of the short story, Let Me Stay With You, so that's the way we roll with short stories. So anyway, "Welcome to the middle of nowhere," Freddie said in a jolly voice. "I'm afraid we've lured you to the least fashionable area of France." "But it's beautiful here," Ripley said. The landscape was severe and rocky, as arid as it appeared from the plain. Golden brown hills looked like the backs of sea lions and were speckled with twisted shrubs. Freddie and Claire's house was a 3-story rectangle, ochre stucco over stone. Casement windows opened out, revealing sheer curtains lifting in the breeze. A giant tree that Ripley couldn't identify cast an ellipse of shade on the lawn, and a long table beneath it was set for a meal. Claire came out of the house. "Ripley, how wonderful," she said. She hugged him tightly. "I made a cassoulet for lunch. I hope you like rabbit." "Who doesn't like rabbits?" Ripley said, and she laughed. She was a tiny woman, very thin and neat. Freddie and Ripley had known her slightly at college. She and Freddie met again later on. They had a teenage daughter, Elise. Though they lived in Manhattan, they spent August and Christmas time in France. Freddie took Ripley's suitcase and led him into the house. It was dim and cool and smelled faintly of burnt wood. The living room fireplace was large enough to roast a couple of goats. Ripley's room was at the top of a narrow flight of stone stairs. He looked at the photographs on the stairwell wall, snaps of Freddie and Claire when they were younger, pictures of Elise at every age, and an old black and white of a glamorous-looking couple, somebody's grandparents, he assumed. His bedroom was beneath the eaves, with an old-fashioned brass doubled bed and a bookcase full of paperbacks. He wondered if this was the bedroom he would have been given had he and Kate arrived together. "It's the only bedroom on this floor," Freddie said. "Plenty of privacy, and you've got your own bath." He opened a door to a small white tiled bathroom where there was a miniature sink and a toilet and shower. "Believe me, it's a luxury. Bob and Elise have to share a bathroom." So yeah, I like this as well. Here we have what seems to be a fun vacation-y setup where a guy is going to visit old friends in France, of all places, where they have a country home, and there's so many great descriptions of the landscape and the inside of the house, so it really draws you in. And ironically, there's also, it seems like, a questionable lover named Kate, or that's really pushing it. I don't know if it's a lover or what anyone's feelings are, but it does feel like our narrator is wondering if his friends' opinions would have changed if he came with a Kate, kind of like the person in the last story. So anyway, yeah, I think this is intriguing stuff. I guess I want to know. It's, set up. It's page 2, I suppose. So the whole point is these are old friends, and how are they going to get along in France? Seems like a nice place to try to get along. And finally, for book number 3, I have Beyond the Pale by Ilana Dykewoman. And I'll show you another bookmark, which I actually thought was for Little District Books, but in fact I think it's for Libro FM, for the audiobook site that, partners with indie bookstores. So there we go. I sucked in my stomach and got taller. I remembered vaguely Mama and Papa talking about the pogrom in Kantakusen a long time ago when I was 10. A pogrom is something I hope you'll never see. It's like a street full of men, like the one Hava bumped into this afternoon, yelling and beating up the Jews. Sarah looked down at her shoes. Does the paper say they're going to have one? The paper says that Jews killed a Christian boy to use his blood for Passover matzos. Ick! That's stupid. Yes, well, stupidity is the most dangerous thing on earth, and we live in very stupid times. So, now we're going to go home and talk about this with your father. We passed the statue of Pushkin at the entrance to the park. I remembered when it was put up, with bouquets of flowers arranged in the base. I wondered if Pushkin would have told people how silly it is to think Jews drank Christian blood. Who thought these things up? If anyone could make up a lie like this, maybe they drank the blood themselves. When Papa read the handbill, his skin turned the color of wax. I didn't think he could look more pale. We'll talk about it after dinner. Dinner was quiet and quick. Mama sent us to clean up, and she and Papa went into their room. Since the boys left, I didn't have to sleep behind the stove anymore, though sometimes I missed the private feeling I'd had behind my little blanket. Of course we could hear them anywhere in the house. When they whispered, I listened harder or walked silently to the wall of their bedroom. Isaac, I have a very bad feeling about this. Something terrible is going to happen. Always a feeling, never a fact. In the Talmud. Isaac, please listen to me. You know what happened in Shpol and in Nikolev. It's been 4 or 5 years. It was almost 20 before that. This is Kishinev, Miriam, not some little shtetl. Isaac, you know what this means. Papa got up and started pacing. I knew he knew she was right. The men respect you. Talk to the chief rabbi. Maybe you can go to the mayor or to the police and find out what they know, if they're prepared for this. So yeah, we're into historical fiction now, and it very much feels like Monday night quarterbacking sometimes when you get a scene where people are like, this is Kishinev, it won't be that bad. And you know that, in fact, the pogrom in Kishinev was horrible and is well known for being a horrible pogrom. And then I guess it also zeroes in the time frame of this historical fiction that it's probably somewhere around 1905 when that pogrom happened in Russia. It was a major one in a city, like as they're saying, this isn't some shtetl, you know, this is supposed to be a more cosmopolitan place where maybe, you know, rumors of Jews drinking blood won't, you know, surface, but it does. So, yeah, I mean, I'm always interested in, you know, this type of cultural reality. It's the cultural reality that my family came from when they immigrated to the US, where these sorts of anti-Semitic beliefs could be common. So I am intrigued. There were a few things on the page that kind of confused me. I guess it's, you know, the page 112 working in a way to say what could be improved on the page, because I don't know. I mean, well, it's nitpicky to say, like, we start with a first-person narrator, but then this other person named Sarah responds. So I guess they're two sisters talking with their mom in the park, I suppose. Another maybe nitpicky but less nitpicky thing is, like, you know, she goes from a sentence about how the narrator liked sleeping behind the stove, but we could hear her parents anywhere in the house, and I just thought that was kind of clunky, like we went from one idea to the next kind of quickly. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of making excuses, because I do feel like I would be very interested to read this, but I can only pick one book, or at least I should, because I have so much to read as it is this month. So I feel like I will be putting this one down, but we'll look forward to when I ultimately get to it. And I feel like I'll also put down No Diving Allowed short stories. Almost feels like a shame to play with short stories anyway, since the page 112 rule doesn't apply to them, although I've picked short stories before. I picked a collection last month, which actually didn't work so well for me. Hoping this one ultimately will, but for now I'm putting it down. And that means I will go with Ask Again Yes by Mary Beth Keane, which, even though I acquired this book in 2022, it's been on my TBR for longer, so it feels good to be able to, you know, get it off for that reason. And I really enjoyed the page. I felt like it did a really good job of an en media res introduction to these people and circumstances that made me want to continue reading. So yes, I'll be reporting back on my thoughts later in the month. So that about covers it for me now. Speaking of reporting back on reading I have already done rather than making TBRs, my next video should be my first Friday Reads of the year, so that's exciting. Hopefully a Friday Reads and not an AM reading that isn't Friday Reads. I hope to keep my schedule in a good place this year. We'll see how it goes. And anyway, I will also link to the 3 books I mentioned down below on their Goodreads pages, and also the bookstores I mentioned. And my final little thing I do in these outros for this particular set of videos is I try to shout out other booktubers partaking in readathons and TBR games, because I like to feel like we're in the club together. And it's always fun to find other booktubers doing creative things. And since it's the beginning of the year, I thought I'd go for a brand new TBR game. And Brianna at Four Paws in a Book has unveiled a new TBR game for the new year called Kerplunk Chooses My TBR, which is one of those games where I think you pour marbles into it and it's held up by sticks, and the whole idea, it's kind of like Jenga where you don't want things to fall. And so I think she has prompts, color-coded prompts for each of the colored sticks. So she pulls one out and has to do a prompt in that category for the month. So anyway, I will link that video down below. I hope you all are having a great time picking and choosing and reading your January TBRs, however you are doing it. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.